Good morning and welcome. It is Sunday the 18th of December. I am Flat Cap Callum and I'm hoping you are all very, very well. It's a special day in the Flat Cap Callum household. It is my mum and dad's ruby wedding anniversary today, so she'll be wishing them a lovely day, and I'll be going out for lunch with them later. There's no crazy party going on, but we're having a nice lunch out. So congratulations to my mum and dad. Just wanted to have a little bit of personal indulgence there. For those of you on the horses, I'll get onto that now. So on the horses, what have we got? We've got £5 bet. So one lucky 15 with an additional double on it. And it's the 114 at Thurles is where we're going to go. So I'm going to get into that in a minute. There's no review because we didn't have any bets yesterday because it was all cancelled, and I did all that on an extra Saturday video. So I'm going to go through the bets for today, and then I'm going to go through cash outs. So there was a bit of chatter in the comments in the last couple of days, and I said on Friday I personally did a cash out, not on the channel bet, but I did a cash out, and I want to explain why I did a cash out. So I'm going to go into that. This is the second time I've tried to make this video, because the first time the explanation just didn't come out. It's a complicated thing, and I'm going to try and do it as simple as I possibly can. So I'm going to get onto the cash out story after the bet. So as far as today's bet go, I had four versions of the truth, because whether or not Thurles or Navan were going to get abandoned, and I've been practicing saying Navan for today, and it didn't matter because it's not on, but hopefully I've got it down now and it's going to stick in my brain. And I know most people think it's ridiculous I can't say Navan, but there we go. I had a version of Wolverhampton and Navan, Wolverhampton and Thurles, all three, or just Wolverhampton. And what we've got is Wolverhampton and Thurles. Here is what it is. And this has taken quite a bit of time to go through this, because I had four horses ready to go. And then when I went back through it this morning, one of them had gone from 11s to 4s, and I wasn't going to put that in the bet, so I took it out, and I've gone for a different race. And then there was another race where I wasn't happy with the horse that I had, that was a 9 to 1 shot. That I just wasn't happy with it, so I've gone for something else. So the two bigger prices in here are later additions, and I've had to go through massive detail in these races to dig these out. And so there's a little bit more risk. I mean, there's always risk. Clearly, there's always risk. But I've really had to root around in these to find these ones out. So in the 114 Thurles, Quarry Lil. That was going to be a different horse. It was much shorter. And what you've got in those two races is, I don't think the top of the market is solid, but I didn't find anything stand out further down the market. So what I've made a decision on is I've gone into a much greater level of detail further down the market, because I don't believe the top of the market is strong. So what I mean by that is, I don't think it looks like a race where the top 5 in the market are going to come in the top 5 positions in either of those legs 1 or 3. But what I've had to do is go through on I tend to want to avoid particularly inconsistent horses unless they're a really good price. These two horses, Quarrelil and Balderio, have got elements of form that would get them involved, but they run more bad races than good. So I don't see them as price crashers. I don't see there's going to be a huge amount of movement on the bet. I mean, unless literally it's just because everyone on the channel's betting these two horses. So they are sort of a little bit even more riskier than I'd normally do, but I'm happy to put them in for our bet today. So 114 Thurles, Quarry Lil 50s, 144 Thurles, Union Park 10s, 244 Thurles, Balderio 33s, 309 Wolverhampton El Hombre, regular on the channel, 13 to 2. 15p each way lucky 15, and a 25p each way double on the two biggies, Quarry Lil and Balderio. Sky are best because they're paying 6 on that first race and they're paying 4 on the bottom leg, but 365 or Coral are next best, and you get slightly better prices on 365. So that is the one and only bet for today. The outlook for the rest of the week is quite positive, because we've got rescheduled meetings and additional meetings. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday looks like it's going to be quite promising. So we'll see, and I'll be back on the next video on Monday morning, tomorrow morning. Okay, cash outs. So, why did I do a bet on Friday where I cashed it out? I'll explain. And this is the second time I've tried to do this video, as I said. So, it's a complicated thing, and I want to try and make sure that I'm not using loads of maths to baffle people. So, where do I start with this? So, on the channel bet, what we had was a lucky 15 where we had one place, two winners going on to a last leg. It was a £6 bet. We had guaranteed 270 odd pound in the bank on channel stake. If the last horse had placed, it was about 650 odd pounds. The cash out was £700 we were offered on the channel. So we were offered a cash out slightly higher than the last horse placing. If the last horse had won, it was worth about £2,500 or just a bit more than that. So in that essence, I don't blame anybody for cashing out on that bet, because to be offered a cash out that's slightly higher than the last horse placing was a really good cash out, and that only came about because the last horse had been backed in significantly, so it was a much shorter price than what we'd originally had. So it was, from a value perspective, it doesn't pay to cash out a bet like that in the long term, but in the short term, with the amount of money that was offered to people on the channel for the type of stake that they're doing, being offered, £600-700, completely understandable. That is a cash out, because the only eventuality that you would have been better off is the last horse winning. And when you've got sort of 13 runners in a Dundalk handicap, albeit the previous two handicap horses had won at massive prices that were bigger, it was a savvy thing to do. It wasn't the long-term value thing to do, but I think for a lot it was a sensible thing to do. So I wouldn't have personally cashed out that bet for myself. Off the channel, I do lots of other bets that, personally, that you won't ever know about or see about, and I'm using a variety of bookmakers. I don't have loads of Sky Bet accounts, right? So the channel Sky Bet account is the Sky Bet account that I'm using. Outside of that, I've got all sorts of other betting accounts that I use. With Sky Bet, you get a bonus for lucky 15s if you get one winner, and you get another type of bonus if all four win. Most bookmakers do not have a bonus like that. So if you were betting on other bookmakers that don't have bonuses for one winner and lucky 15, and I was betting, most of my accounts are bookmakers that don't have that, then there's no mathematical or statistical advantage from doing a lucky 15 as opposed to a deconstructed lucky 15, i.e. do the singles, the doubles, the trebles, the accumulator separate. In the case of what I was doing on Friday, I technically had what you would call a double leg deconstructed lucky 31. So stay with me, folks. So 5 legs, so 5 races, 2 horses in each race. And I had them done up as doubles, trebles, fourfolds and fivefolds. So 10 horses, 5 races, and that's what I had, right? And within that bet that I did off the channel, it included the 2 big price winners that we had, and it also had in it 2 races that were at Kempton that were abandoned. So after 4 legs, what I was sat with was 2 winners taking at odds of 35 and 25 to 1, and non-runners in the other legs. But what I had, because I deconstructed the bet, and it takes a bit more time, it's more of a faff, but I had separate lines for a double bet, treble bet, fourfold bet and fivefold bet. The fivefold bet had converted to trebles, the fourfold bet had converted to trebles. So I had a lot more money going on to trebles than I ever intended to have because of the abandonment of Kempton. So my maximum win had changed because there was no fivefold option or fourfold option. Because of the non-runners, there was multiple versions of the bet that had converted to treble. Hopefully this is making sense so far. So what I had the option to do, and I had other bets running on as well as this one, this is just one specific bet. I was already guaranteed a nice return off the double element, the treble element, the fourfold element, because the fourfold element had 2 winners and 2 non-runners. So they were already guaranteeing me some level of return. If the last leg had gone in, then it would have converted the fivefolds to trebles, the fourfolds to trebles, and the trebles would have been trebles, if that makes sense. But in essence, I would have a lot more stake riding on the treble than I ever intended. So let's imagine if I go simple, it was 10p each ways. For the fivefold element, it would have converted, because of the non-runners, to basically 40p each way. So the bet had converted to 4 times my original intention of stake to go on to that, but it was only as a treble. The cash out offer I was offered was equivalent to 3/4 return of what I originally intended the value of the bet to be. So on that basis, because I could have the doubles, the trebles and the fourfold legs all running, where I knew that if I had a winner I would get more money, it was basically like a partial cash out, and it was offering me 3/4 return of my original intention. For the fivefold element, the places were worth peanuts in comparison. I needed one of the last 2 horses in the last leg to win, and if they won, I would be turning down a decent return, but I was offered 3/4 of what I originally thought I was going to get back for the leg. So on that basis, I cashed that leg out, the fivefold element, because I knew I would have got a decent return anyway off the other legs that were all deconstructed. So and as it was, the last horse didn't win, so I got 3/4 of the potential win back. Who knows if that's made any sense? I guess the key takeaways are what I want you to kind of, for those of you who doing your own bets on the side, the point I'm trying to make here is deconstructed bets take a lot more time, but for certain eventualities, and if you do like to do cash out, so I don't do it with intention of cashing it out. For those people who like a potential cash out, what I would advise is split your stake in half and do half the bet as a kind of like a lucky 15, and half of it is a deconstructed one, and then you can always say that if you're getting up 3 legs, you've got the option to partially cash out some of it, so it gives you a bit of more of a halfway house if you don't want to kind of go double or bust, if you like. So by splitting your bet like that, but off the channel, if I'm time poor, I just shove it on as lucky bets, but if I've got a bit more time, I deconstruct the bets down to give me the option of dealing with variables. And on Friday was exceptional circumstance because there was 2 races abandoned, so I lost 2 parts of a bet, which completely changed the configuration of the intention of the bet. All right, I try really hard on this channel just to put the bets out and say very little about the statistics and the maths that goes behind and the value and how I do that all, because there's a small amount of people would want to know and would be able to follow it. My mind works in a very quick maths kind of a way, and a lot of it is very hard to explain out loud, even though it's kind of all kind of done on a backdrop of mathematical statistics. So yeah. Hopefully I haven't baffled people too much on a Sunday. I mean, it's a Sunday. You didn't need a maths lesson, but if you take away the element of deconstruct the bets, you've got potential to be more flexible with what you do with the return. That'll be the thing I want you to think about. All right, I'm going to leave it there because I've probably given everyone a headache. I'll be back in the morning for Monday selections. All right, thank you very much. Enjoy Sunday. Bye-bye.